Good morning, and thank you for arriving to our webinar this morning. My name is Jim Guinan. I'm an annuity manager here at Financial Brokerage. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to attend our webinar topic today, which is discussing some high points about IRAs, um, some of the rules and guidelines of what we work with on the IRAs, um, and some other topics too. So I want to thank you for that again. I appreciate it. And I want to remind you that we are recording the webinar this morning. So if for some reason you have to leave early or want to tune into that later, we will have a copy of that available. Again, our topic is IRA season. Are you ready? So as we go through the presentation this morning, it won't be very long, but as we go through, if there's any questions that come up that I don't end up answering through the presentation itself, please type those in. We'll address those at a later point. So with that, I want to get started, talk to you a little bit about what's new here at Financial Brokerage, and then get into the heart of our presentation. So I want to talk to you about some of our incentives. We recently announced our shared success incentives and incentive trips, I should say. So we have two for 2022. The qualification period started January 1 of this year, so just a few months ago. And it's on all business submitted through Financial Brokerage through the end of 2021. And you would have until March of this next year for that business to get paid to qualify for those trips. The two trips we have are the Sandals Emerald Bay, which is in the Bahamas, and then also we have a fishing trip to Ontario with Oak Lake Lodge and Outpost. As you can see on your screen, the shared success requirement for the Sandals Emerald Bay is 45,000, any combination of 45,000 success shares, and for the fishing trip, that would be 35,000. Again, all business that you place with us on all products, all types of products, qualifies and has a conversion for the Shared Success program. So talk to me, talk to Brian, talk to our sales managers about what it takes to get there. We'd certainly love to see you. And again, these will be in 2022. The exact dates have not been determined as of yet. So I think those are some exciting programs. Of course, the Shared Success program has another component, and that would be if for some reason you cannot attend because of conflicts or what have you, or it's not a destination you necessarily would go for. We do have a cash conversion for those Shared Success. So nothing goes to waste. We appreciate your business, and let us know, what your target is and how we can help you get there. I want to talk to you a little bit about referrals. Again, this is the lifeblood of what we do here at Financial Brokerage. As you do in the field, you are always looking to grow your business, and of course, the most qualified people that you can sit in front of are the qualified referral from one of your clients. So we work the same way. We do have an agent referral program. This has changed a little bit over the years, but now it is really a way to build an override or a sustaining income for you as a producer. So we now offer this bonus going out up to 10 years. So again, all products have some type of override, so to speak, built into them, as you can see on the screen. So please let us know who those producers are. If they're writing life insurance, disability, Medicare, fixed annuities, hybrid products, we're glad to follow up and talk with them and work with them just as we do with you. So thanks again for those people if you've referred to us in the past, and we look forward to helping those in the future. Okay, so I wanted to get started here. Just some high points. We're not going to get into a lot of detail this morning, but I did want to talk to you some areas that we're going to concentrate on a little bit. would be the contribution limits for IRAs in 2021, carriers and products that do take and accept contributions, and a little discussion on RMDs, required minimum distributions, and then also some prospecting ideas for IRAs and other qualified rollovers. Okay, so for this year, the deadline for contributions is back to the filing date for taxes, which is April 15th. If you recall, last year, which was a strange year to say the least, in 2020, the filing date was moved to July. But for this year, or for the tax year of 2020, the filing date and the contribution deadline for IRAs is April 15th. Now, there are some exceptions. I did read something just in the last few days that if you are affected by the storms in Texas and I think another state, maybe Oklahoma, that they did extend that contribution, or I should say the filing date, to, I believe it was May. You may want to verify that if there's some other areas that were impacted or other reasons. I'm sure that you'll know in your state. Again, I'm just speaking generally, but it has moved back to the April 15th date. So for 2021, this current tax year, the IRA contribution limits stayed the same as what they were for 2020. So this would be, and again, this is for both traditional IRA and Roth contributions. Those limits were for $6,000. It stayed the same as of last year. If you're over age 50, you still can take advantage of the catch-up provision and add an additional $1,000. So that means that if you're over 50, your IRA contribution is at $7,000 for both Roth and traditional IRAs. Okay, and then there are, of course, different phase-out range factors, and what that means is, and many of you already know this, but with a traditional IRA, it's a matter of whether it's deductible or not. By the way, I do want to insert this right now. If you would like a 2021 tax facts sheet, we do have one of those now with a lot of this information and more than I can cover here available to you. I'd be glad to email that over for you, and it'll have all the details of it. But just for purposes here, again, we talk about contribution limits or amounts that you can put in, but who can put those in is dependent on whether it's deductible. With a traditional IRA, you can always contribute those dollars into the IRA. The question is, will it be deductible? And that's dictated by whether you have are an active participant in another retirement plan. So with traditional IRAs, just looking here at our updated tax facts, for married filing jointly, that amount slightly increased for 2021. The phase-out range is from $105,000 to $125,000, which I believe is adjusted gross, which means that if you're married filing jointly and you have a retirement plan available to you at work, if you're above $125,000, you won't get to deduct the IRA at all. All right? If you do not have a retirement plan at work, it's fully deductible. When it comes to Roths, and again, that's just one category. There's single head of household. There's married filing separately. Those are different income limits, so I won't go into all that. But for the Roth, it's a matter of how much you make. So for married filing jointly in 2021, the phase out is $208,000. It went up $2,000 this year. So that means if you're married filing jointly, your adjusted gross is above 208,000, you can't contribute to a Roth at all. So again, you want to be aware of that. I'm sure that you with your clients would be talking with their tax preparer about this also. But just so you know, these are available on the tax facts at a glance. There's a number of sources that can help you with those, but um, at any rate, and then just wanted to add something here that again, what we do here at Financial Brokerage, what I do to help producers like yourself is I work in the fixed annuity marketplace. But of course, the contributions we're talking about, these rules apply regardless of what type of investment vehicle your clients can invest those dollars into. Our product of preference here and what we do best is with fixed and fixed indexed annuity products, and they certainly are an attractive vehicle choice for many individuals, especially as they're approaching retirement. So we'll come back to that in a little bit again and talk about some options. But again, these rules that we're talking about here, they apply to everything as far as what choice that your clients may make, whether it's funds or something at the bank or a brokerage account. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the carriers that we have, that we work with, that are in the contributory market. And I know what you'll probably say is, well, you can't make any money doing that. So we'll address that issue soon enough here. But just so you know, we do get calls a lot this time of year, especially you know, March, April. Uh, you have a client, maybe somebody younger that's wanting to contribute to an IRA, or doesn't have a rollover but does have a wants to take out an IRA for 2020. So just so you know, the carriers that we work with, that the minimum that I could find was through National Western. They do have several products that you can start a IRA, both a traditional and a Roth, with $2,000. Some other carriers would be American Equity, Sentinel, Equitrust, Guggenheim, and American National. They all have a product or more than one product where the minimum premium on qualified is $5,000. So there still are a few companies out there that work in the contribution market. So and in addition, I want to say many of these companies do offer flex premium annuity contracts. That's important. If all you're doing for that client is opening an account and it's a single premium, so that you don't have to do product training and open a new IRA every year, you may want the option to have a flex premium contract where they can contribute on their own. And many of those that I just mentioned right there are flexible premium index or traditional products available. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the RMDs. The required minimum distribution, and now that the Secure Act changed the RMDs to age 72, so now due to that, instead of the April after you turn 70 and a half, they pushed that off to the April after the year in which you turn 72. So it really extended it 2 years, which has helped many people to not have to start taking money out and being taxed on it. So that was one of the changes with the Secure Act, was the RMD rules. I think a sales idea here, when I think about RMDs, especially those clients with quite a few dollars in retirement accounts, would be, to have a discussion about what they do with those distributions, especially if you're the one that helps them every year or has set their IRAs up on a distribution, is to talk about, what do you do with your RMD? And I know personally with some clients that they just put it in their savings account. They take it out because they have to, but they don't need it. So what are some transitions here, that we could use, turn around and help your clients with other needs? So for example, that could be used to purchase a non-qualified annuity or additional life insurance or either a long-term care or hybrid product. Again, depends on the dollars that are coming out. But if you have somebody, for example, at age 72, the RMD is about 4%. It's about a 4% payout. So if you think about it, somebody that has a $500,000 IRA and has to take a distribution, you're talking about $20,000. So again, look for other ways to help those people. It's certainly worth the question. If you don't ask, we know what the answer will be, but I would certainly probe that to ask them about, now that you're receiving your RMD, what have you been doing with that? And are there other needs that we can help you with? One other thing that always helps too as a producer is if you're the one that helps them with RMDs, don't stop there. Find out the total amount of distribution. Maybe you only work with several accounts, but by knowing the table, the factors, you could actually find out how much your client has in IRAs altogether, which could lead to future sales. One other thing I wanted to add too, when we talked about contributions, was that also due to the Secure Act, individuals can now contribute to a traditional IRA beyond 70 and a half. Remember before, they could contribute up to 70 and a half, and then they had to take a RMD. But due to the Secure Act, now after 2020, individuals, as long as they're working, can contribute to an IRA beyond 72 and older. So they would also need to take an RMD, but they could contribute beyond 70 and a half. So that was one of the other changes on the Secure Act, I think was a good thing. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about some ideas that have come that come to me through producers and through my experience, some ways to help increase IRA sales. So we're going to pivot to that now. I think that one of the things that helped me, and I know that many of you that are in the annuity business, that write annuities for that you've learned a lot over the years, and it changes. So I think one of the things that helped me early in my career when I started with mutual fund sales was to be an IRA expert. And between us sharing ideas and things that you've learned, also another resource, of course, is the IRS website. Now, I'll say it's not always easy to navigate and find things, but there's a lot of useful information out there. And often when I get calls from producers, they'll ask me questions, and I'm flattered that they think I know everything, but I don't. And I'll even say, "Did you go to the IRS website?" And I'll often hear the same thing I just said, which was, "Well, I did, but it's kind of hard to navigate." But I would go to the IRS.gov, the IRS website, for a lot of some of the rules, some of the things that we talked about already this morning. But if you want to be to work more with qualified money, I think you got to put your time in and study a little bit and be knowledgeable about that, because it will really help you increase your qualified sales in the future. So one of the other little tips, of course, is to ask for prior years and current years contributions. So like I said, lately we've been getting a lot of phone calls and emails about, what product do you have? What do we have that I can put 6,000 or 7,000 for my client into? And I'll tell them, what's available. And then I'll also say, did you ask for this year's contribution? And well, no, I didn't. Well, they may not know if they can or will, but there are some people that will do that. So instead of a $6,000 or $7,000 sale for one person, you could make it 14, and if you're talking about a couple, you're talking about 28,000. So now you've got a little bit better um, products perhaps to work with, but also, it's increasing your income and helping them take care of their contributions. So always ask them if you're helping with a contribution account to ask your client for the business. You know that we need to take care of 2020, Mr. Client. Have you considered that we could also take care of 2021's contribution if your goal is to continue to add every year? Okay, and I kind of mentioned this before, but nobody wants to just focus on contributions here. We all know that you can't make a lot of money at that in the long run. Excuse me. But you work the contribution market with an eye on the rollover market. You work the contribution market to get people as a client. Um, it's pretty easy for someone to agree to do business with you with $7,000 or $6,000. If it's a couple, $12,000. But what you want to be is the person they go to for their other IRA needs. And as we've known for many years, clients have IRA and other investment accounts in places, and they're either in the wrong product, they're not performing well, they're not being serviced, or all of the above. So work the contribution market. When I started my career, I didn't have a lot of wealthy clients. I wanted to be an IRA expert, and my investment of choice for those people was mutual funds. And what I did was I worked hard at acquiring client after client and being the IRA expert, and I worked the contribution market. And but going to our next point, I was also very good at updating my fact finders with those people or my financial inventory, and always looking for other qualified accounts that we could work with. So this would help identify future rollovers from 401k plans, 403bs, profit sharing plans, pensions, or other IRAs that they had. If I was the one helping them with the IRA contribution that year, um, did I have an opportunity to work with them when that other IRA comes due, or when they decide they're not happy with where it's at anymore? Certainly. So be the person that helps them with all of the qualified money, helps them with all of their RMDs when they need help with that. Another way to increase your sales is to ask for referrals, and especially those who contribute to IRAs now, or who may be leaving an employer, which would be a rollover down the road. So again, always ask people, who do you know that's contributing to an IRA currently? Who do you know that has that is going to be leaving an employer? So again, how I did this was, and I know many producers do, they would write the IRA for their client every year. They come back, they rewrite it, maybe into a new product, or maybe it goes into an existing. And they would say, hey, remember we talked last year about your IRA that's at blank company? How's that done? Are you open to some ideas as to what we can do differently for you with that? I've been here helping you. So, but ask for referrals. It's very important. Another area that I think is not maybe tapped into enough, and that is the in-service non-hardship withdrawals. This kind of ties in with the asking about 401k rollovers and what have you. But it's a different part of that, and that is that for those people that are still working, contributing to a 401k plan, may have access to monies that are in that without being a hardship. So this happens once in a while for pre-59 and a half. Typically it's after age 59 and a half, but if you have those individuals that are 50 years old, for example, it might be worth asking them. It does require your client to take some additional steps to find out if their employer offers an in-service non-hardship withdrawal, first of all, and secondly, if they're willing to do it. But again, it is for those people still working, a way for you to help them reposition dollars again, if it's suitable to do so, into a fixed product prior to retirement age. So don't overlook those. I can help you a little bit further with that. I have actually done one of those myself. It's not that hard, but that does require your client to inquire with their employer, and certainly it's not the whole balance of the account that's available to do so, but it's a potential rollover, a potential to help your client with um, helping them reposition self-direct into an IRA account. Okay, some additional points I'd like to make, and then we'll be wrapping up here, is that we're talking today about traditional and Roth. Many of our carriers also accept SEP IRA money. In fact, most of them do work with SEP IRA money. In addition, non-qualified and qualified stretch money. We do have two very good carriers that work in those markets, and there may be more that are going to work with it in the future, especially non-qualified. Today, we find that industry-wide, more than half of fixed annuity sales, fixed annuity premium, I should say, is in the qualified market. And so, again, if you just became an expert in that and worked only with that, you could do quite well. But the reason I put this point in is that once in a while we hear, well, it makes no sense to put qualified money in a vehicle that's already tax deferred. But remember, the number one reason a fixed annuity is sold, as many surveys and polls have shown, is that it's safe. And as people approach retirement, they want to have some portion of their retirement dollars in a vehicle that can't lose principal. So again, and we see this more and more of the rollovers are in the qualified market. I mentioned before the 2021 tax facts at a glance. You may already have one. They can be found out on the internet. I have one that I'd be glad to send to you. What I like is that it shows 2020 and 2021, and we would be glad to get that out to you to use as a reference. It has the tax tables, information about alternative minimum tax, qualified retirement contribution limits, IRAs, as I already mentioned, and it also has your RMD table on there. So that's a great reference. If you're on an appointment and someone says, well, I have $400,000 total in all my IRAs, what would be my RMD for this year? And you'd have it. So we're glad to provide that to you. So just let me know if we can. So I want to thank you again for attending today. If you have any questions that come up on your appointments or after the webinar is over, feel free to reach out to me. My number is right there on the screen, but it's 800-397-9999 right here at Financial Brokerage in Omaha, Nebraska, and just ask for me. Or you can email me at the initial J, Guinan, Guynan at fb-inc.com. I'd be glad to help you with any questions you have about qualified rollovers, qualified contributions, the carriers that we have that are in that market and that can help you help your clients find better better fitting products for their needs. So thanks again. Appreciate it, and hope you have a great rest of your week.